Hurricane Milton continues its ominous path toward Florida, where it's expected to make landfall just south of Sarasota in the next 24 hours. As the state braces for impact, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis continued calls for residents to evacuate and get to safety.
We are bracing and are prepared to receive a major hit. We're facing this with the seriousness it deserves, but also with the determination that we will get through this. You still have time to evacuate if you are in an evacuation zone.
There has been one confirmed tornado in Broward County as the storm continues its path. Although Hurricane Milton has been downgraded to a Category 4, maximum sustained winds remain at 155 miles per hour, and a destructive storm surge of 10 feet or greater is expected along the west central coast of Florida. In just the past 24 hours, tropical storm force winds expanded from 105 to 125 miles from Hurricane Milton's center. The Tampa Bay area, home to 3.3 million people, is facing the possibility of widespread destruction. This could be one of the most catastrophic storms on record. We have an on-the-ground look across the state as Florida prepares for Milton's landfall. NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Enton is in Tampa. Brian.
The weather definitely starting to change a bit here in Tampa. You know, it was pretty calm this morning, and as Hurricane Milton inches closer, you can just feel it's getting windier, it's getting rainier. Nothing too serious yet, but we still got a ways to go before the storm comes ashore. Tampa now is on the northern edge of the cone, but it's still going to suffer a significant impact, and no one really knows for sure where the middle of Milton, which is the strongest part, is actually going to come ashore. Here in Tampa, they're not taking any chances, especially because of Hurricane Helene. You know, they went through that storm just about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, caused a lot of damage in this area, especially out on the Bay Area Islands. There was a lot of flooding. Some neighborhoods were totally underwater. They were still cleaning up. There's debris all over the place in some of these neighborhoods, and it's really unfortunate because now a lot of that debris from Hurricane Helene is going to go flying when Milton comes ashore. So everybody just sort of anxiously awaiting to see what's going to happen here. A lot of people have evacuated already, which is a very, very good thing. I want to send it over to my colleague, Xavier Walton.
Hey Brian, here's what it's like in Clearwater. Conditions continue to deteriorate, and this is what's left over from Helene. These huge piles people are working to clear out, but they just ran out of time as that storm hit less than 2 weeks ago. A big problem here, a big concern. Take a look at this. That's a nail. That's a scene we are seeing play out over and over as you turn around and you just see all these piles of debris. Crews are working around the clock to get it cleaned out, but there was a major bridge closure last night at 7 p.m. so no one could get onto the beach to clear off some of the debris. But this is the scene as it gets worse here in Clearwater. For now, though, I'm going to send it over to my colleague, Ryan Bass, over in St. Petersburg.
Thanks a lot, Xavier. And I know where you are up in Clearwater Beach, about 20 miles north of me. The priority has been to clear a lot of the debris along from the coastline, especially with some of that storm surge expected to push onto our area beaches. But here in neighborhoods like Snell Isle, which is just adjacent to downtown St. Petersburg, you can see the aftermath of Hurricane Helene and what's been left here. Dressers and dresser drawers, you've got love seats and sofas, cabinets that are sitting here as well, and doors in the front of a lot of folks' lawns here. And you go house after house and this debris is just sitting out here. And the concern for a lot of people is projectiles. That's one of the reasons they wanted so many people to evacuate, is when these hurricane force winds come through, what happens? When you have all this debris that's littered out in front of people's homes, it gets thrown into the air and potentially thrown into buildings and people. But I will tell you, 500,000 people plus live in the Pinellas County region. They have been asked to evacuate. It has been a ghost town in this neighborhood. Folks are listening. In the Pinellas County shelters, we spoke to a lot of the folks with the Emergency Management Office. They said north of 7,000 people have gone to those shelters and over 1,000 pets as well. So people are listening and heeding the warnings in terms of evacuating. And as this storm, Hurricane Milton, comes through and we start to see conditions worsen, a lot of this debris is the concern. We talked to homeowners and they say, we don't know what we're going to come back to in terms of evacuating, but they were more focused on their safety rather than their property. Now let's go to Alex Capriello, who's down in Sarasota, which is projected to be one of the potential landfall locations for the center of this storm. Alex?
Hey, thanks, Ryan. I am here at Fruitville Elementary School. This is one of many shelters here in Sarasota County that is taking in people actively that have those mandatory evacuations in place. You could see right here in this cafeteria behind me, more than 700 people have taken shelter here at this elementary school. That's only a portion of them. The other ones are in other parts of this whole school and these classrooms, doing whatever they can to wait out this storm over the next 24 to 48 hours. So many of these people said that they really felt like they had no choice. They needed to get out of their homes, knowing full well that when they get back to it, when the storm leaves Florida, that there may not be anything left. So in the meantime, they get to come here, they can set up their cots, they can get food, they can get warmth. For as long as electricity lasts, they can also have that. Not to mention, this is a safe place for them to bring their animals to. I'm told that there are more than 200 animals that are taking shelter right here. Dogs, cats, birds, and lizards. Everyone here doing their best to wait out this very, very powerful hurricane that's making its way right here to coastal Florida. Drew.
And thank you to all of our NewsNation correspondents on the ground across Florida covering Hurricane Milton. With the election just less than a month away and early voting already underway in several states, many voters have already made their final pick for president. But what about the voters who haven't landed on one side or the other? In today's Political Minute, Blake Burnham has a look at how much sway undecided voters may have in this election.
A month left to go, but who's left to sway? I'm Blake Berman with NewsNation. Across the country, Vice President Kamala Harris leads former President Donald Trump by roughly 3%. That's according to the Hill Decision Desk HQ Election Center polling average. Now, that leaves about 3.7% of voters who say they still haven't decided who they're going to vote for. Those undecideds can make a big difference in November. For example, in 2016, most voters picked their candidate by the end of September, but 12% chose in October, 5% in the final week. More early deciders then picked Hillary Clinton, but more late deciders chose Trump that year. In 2020, only 10% of voters picked their candidate late in October or November, and again, slightly more late deciders chose Trump than his opponent, Joe Biden. Now, keep that in mind while we see razor-tight polls. Late deciders could tip the race for either candidate this go-around. I'm Blake Berman, and this is the NewsNation Political Minute.
Sean Diddy Combs is appealing to be released from jail ahead of his federal sex crimes trial. Lawyers for Combs are arguing federal prosecutors' reasoning for his detention was based on speculation. Combs was arrested last month at a Manhattan hotel and was arraigned on sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution charges. Combs has previously lost 2 attempts to be released on bail. He is currently being held at the Special Housing Unit of Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. He has pled not guilty to all criminal charges levied against him. Billionaire investor Mark Cuban suggesting in an interview with Semaphore this week that if Vice President Harris wins the White House in November, she should replace Federal Trade Commissioner Chair Lina Khan. Cuban suggested Khan had overstepped by trying to break up big tech companies, saying it risks the country's ability to lead in artificial intelligence. Cuban, who has become a high-profile supporter of the vice president's campaign, said he had not spoken to the Harris camp about his suggestion. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders publicly disagreed with Cuban on social media Tuesday, coming to Khan's defense in a post on X. Sanders said Cuban was wrong, calling Khan the best FTC chair in modern history, saying, quote, "By taking on corporate greed and illegal monopolies, Lina is doing an exceptional job preventing large corporations from ripping off consumers and exploiting workers," end quote. CNN anchor and journalism veteran Chris Wallace is speaking out about why he left Fox News, slamming the network's coverage of the 2020 election. Wallace left the network in 2021 after hosting Fox News Sunday and moderating presidential debates on the network for years. Now, Wallace is criticizing Fox for their controversial opinion programming, saying he had a problem with what he calls the network's conspiracy and lies, adding, "The truth is non-negotiable." Wallace made the remarks during a podcast appearance with Mediaite's editor-in-chief, commenting on Dominion Voting Systems' defamation suit against Fox. He says he's glad that the network agreed to pay the settlement. The company sued Fox after it aired false claims about its software after the 2020 election. Wallace said of the suit, "There's also a cost to lying and misrepresenting, and I was happy to see that cost was being exacted." Boeing has halted negotiation talks with its largest union, withdrawing its 30% pay raise offer to over 33,000 factory workers as strikes continue. Boeing has no negotiations currently planned as the fourth week of strikes threatens to severely impact the aerospace company. The union says its members overwhelmingly rejected Boeing's most recent offer, blaming the company for not making an offer acceptable to its rank-and-file members. It is estimated the strike could cost Boeing $1 billion, a potentially consequential sum, with the company currently $60 billion in debt. The stalemate shows no signs of resolution as the company has announced temporary furloughs for thousands of salaried employees as production has slowed. Boeing has been hemorrhaging cash and struggling with historic losses as it tries to recover from multiple safety and manufacturing quality incidents. Honda has announced it is recalling 1.7 million cars and SUVs in the United States. The car manufacturer issued the recall over issues that can make steering more difficult, increasing the risk of a crash. In an investigation launched last November, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration found that the steering gearbox assembly may have been manufactured incorrectly, which can cause excessive internal friction and lead to difficulty while steering. The administration said last year it had received reports of 13 crashes related to the issue. The recall affects models made between 2022 and 2025, including some Civic and Civic Type R, CR-V, HR-V, Acura Integra, and Integra Type S vehicles. Take a look at this. The Tropicana Las Vegas going down in a plume of smoke and debris early Wednesday morning. The 67-year-old Sin City landmark shut its doors for the final time back in April after a storied history, including ties to the mob and Hollywood. The icon of the Strip played host to stars like Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Gladys Knight, and provided a backdrop for classic movies like The Godfather and the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. The site will soon be the new home of a $1.5 billion Major League Baseball stadium, which will be the home to the relocating Oakland Athletics. That's today's Daily Debrief. I'm Drew Petrimoulx. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Hills YouTube channel, and come back here soon for the intersection between politics and policy.